Manchester United are up for sale, and it's still unclear whether anyone will match the valuation of £6 million, £6 billion rather, that the Glazers have put on the club. Who's the most likely? And it's a big question, but who do you want to see owning Manchester United going forward?
I think we've got to be realistic with it appears what options are out there. Seems like there's a bit of a divide, doesn't it? From what I've seen polls, and I've seen actually quite a lot side into the Qatari bid, mainly because of what they've come out with. They've been very clear with what they want to invest the money in. They want to invest the money within the men's and the women's team. They want to, obviously sort out the stadium. They either want to redevelop or build a new stadium.
Clearing the debt as well has been a big one.
Yeah, clearing the debt. Obviously, there not being any new debt invested, thrown onto the club. There's no borrowed money. Investing in the community. So they've outlined actually what they want to do, like, very clearly, and you can see why it's an attractive prospect to some fans. But again, there's the issue of obviously everything that is non-football related. I don't want to go into it too much because again, we could be here all night, and it is a really difficult question to answer that. I honestly don't know who I want to be at the club, but I just want whoever does buy the club, I want the best interests of the football club to be at the owner's heart, and them to be looking to do the right things.
I mean,
that's all United fans want. The club, look, the whole thing with the Qatari interest, United don't need that money. United can run itself. Look at the revenue that they turn over. They just want an owner that isn't taking money out of the club every year.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between us, PSG, and Man City. They've come out of nowhere with this new wealth, and they've never had revenue of the level that Manchester United have and have had for 20, 30 years. So that is buying success, isn't it? Whereas you're right, United don't need that. They don't need somebody to bankroll them. They're self-sustainable. And that generates another question. How do fans want their club to be owned? Because back in the day, it used to be owned by a chairman who was like a local businessman. So similar kind of idea of being owned by a wealthy person, but it was someone tied to the city, therefore tied to the club. And you think about, Jack Walker was owner of Blackburn when they won the title. He 100% bankrolled them, Nobody really batted an eyelid too much back then. And United, to an extent, have been lucky that the success they've had have made it sustainable now. They will keep getting money regardless of what happens to them. So who do you want to own your club? Somebody who, like you say, is not going to take. And we've had such a long spell of the Glazers taking that anything seems like an improvement now, doesn't it? Even the Sir Jim Ratcliffe Consortium. There's questions about whether they're going to potentially saddle us with debt as well. But you feel like that Qatari bid seems a lot more tangibly positive now. Whereas I think 20 years ago, it would have felt like a ridiculous concept, wouldn't it?
I kind of agree with what Gary Neville came out and said, the horse is bolted on state ownership. I do agree with that. I think, obviously, we've let it happen with City. We've let it happen with Newcastle. It's been let happen with PSG. Because it's Man United, it has, it's probably blown up a lot more than perhaps it would have done with another club, with the size of the club.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't make it the right thing to do to still let these things happen. I think there needs to be some sort of policies put into place to ensure that clubs are bought, in a more, that these issues are looked at more carefully.
Agreed, yeah.
But
ethically transparent, again, really. That's what you want more than anything.
Have we really got the faith in UEFA or Premier League to do that with just how much money is involved in the game these days? And
well, that's the thing. The pool of buyers for a club like Manchester United, and Liverpool are finding that same trouble now. Although we've just heard that they're not going to be sold after all, which is crazy. But the investment in clubs is got to be so huge that the pool of buyers is so small. So it's almost like you can't pick and choose who your owners are going to be. And it's a pipe dream, really, to think that somebody's going to come along and buy your club that is a fan of the club, although the Qatari bid is headed by a Manchester United fan, isn't it? Allegedly. But that's not going to happen anymore, you know? I think the Bundesliga have got a great idea in having their clubs owned by 51% fans. But how do you do that on the scale of Manchester United? It would be amazing if they said to the fans, look, 51% of the club's up for grabs. We want all the fans to own it, buy a share of the club and help us go forward. But on that scale, is that even realistic? Can you do that?
Not really. At the end of the day, there's still going to have to be a figurehead, isn't there? There's going to have to be somebody at the top of the pyramid who still makes the decisions. And then you've got to then somehow put a plan into place where you elect somebody at the top of that pyramid and ensure it's the right boss. And there's always going to be somebody under scrutiny.
Yeah.
Because there's ultimately going to be decisions that aren't the right decisions. There's going to be decisions that are the right decisions. So either way, it's sort of a double-edged sword, isn't it? I think, again, what do you think about the Ratcliffe bid?
Too many questions there. Too many unanswered questions. Too many concerns. You know, again, like you want your club to be run 100% with the club's best interests at heart, and I don't think that bid will 100% have the best interests of the club at heart.
Well, they're not clarified whether they're actually going to clear the debt, have they?
That's the big issue for me. Like, we didn't need to be saddled with debt by the Glazers, but they couldn't bought us without going into debt. So if you are going to come and own Manchester United, the only way fans will see it as a positive step is if there is no debt, because we didn't create the debt and we don't need it either. It's ridiculous. All we need is someone who can clear that. And if that's going to be Qatari owners, 100% honest, I don't feel comfortable with it. But that's the way football's going. And as a fan, you're so conflicted. I feel Newcastle fans must have felt the same when Mike Ashley was bought out, because you're saying goodbye to one terrible regime, but in comes the Saudi government pretty much investing in your club. How do you feel about that? Do you take success at that price? It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what you're saying, really, I just don't know whether Ratcliffe's got enough money. I don't. With you look at if you're buying a new stadium,
yeah, it's billions.
Like, is that money going to be borrowed as well?
Well, it'll have to be. I think he hasn't got anywhere near the wealth of the Qatari bid. That's for sure.
It's not just that; it's the training ground, the whole complex. Yeah. I think the women's needs quite some heavy investment as well. So it's a lot. It's a lot to ask for, but it's what the club needs as well.
Yeah. Well, United are on the right tracks anyway in terms of success on the pitch. Happy with the way things are progressing under Erik ten Hag. I cannot believe the success he's had in such a short space of time, really. We've got a cup final to look forward to. We are almost quite a distance away from third and fourth place now in the Premier League table. And we've got potential to progress in the Europa League as well. We played really well against Barcelona, so that still looks positive. Things are looking good on the pitch for us, aren't they? It's been a while since we've been able to say that.
Yeah, there's an air of, I won't say invincibility, but you kind of get in that sort of, not cockiness, but there's that assurance and there's that sort of belief in the team again, that even though actually going into this Leicester game, I did feel sort of like, oh, this could be, because it was in between the Barca game, the two Barcelona games, I thought we looked a little bit tired, to be honest, in the first half, I thought. But just the way he's managing the squad, and he's actually rotating, bringing players on. He brought obviously Kobbie Mainoo, who came on in the second half for the last 10-15 minutes, who played really well. He's just a breath of fresh air, isn't he? The way he's doing things, I can't speak highly of him enough. And I'm sure I just think I echo the thoughts of every single Man United fan when they say he's the best thing to happen to this club in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's...
Although that bar's probably low.
That's not saying much, I was going to say. But I think compared to some of the absolute drivel and dross we've been served up on the pitch, especially from a footballing point of view, it's a breath of fresh air to see the philosophy never change, even though he keeps rotating the squad, tweaking things like position of players. He's not got a set plan A, and I think he's tactically so flexible in changing mid-game. And we've seen that on most games, haven't we, in the last few weeks, that he's not afraid to kind of change things when it's not working quite drastically. Breath of fresh air, and he's definitely, I think, caught the bug for Manchester United now. I think he loves the club and what it stands for. So whether he'll feel comfortable with the new owners, if that ever does go through, we'll see. But I hope he's still given the sort of autonomy he's got now, whoever's in charge, don't you?
Oh, you can't see him going anywhere, can you? I know he came out and said, I hope, that I can remain here, and surely it's out of the question.
But the thing is, he doesn't want to buy success necessarily either. I think he prides himself on, still finding talent, like Tyrell Malacia as well. He could have signed an amazing left back who was proven, but no, he's gone for Malacia because he's seen potential in him. But yeah, he's also gone and signed Casemiro. So he knows about the blend. He's bringing Garnacho through, and he knows what United stand for, I think, as well. And that's the Ajax side of him coming through. And it fits really well with our philosophy. And if that has to change because the hierarchy changes to a point where they want more control, that would concern me. So again, for new owners, please don't tinker with things as they are. Eric knows what he's doing. We all trust in him. And fingers crossed for a successful season, hopefully.